And today's question is all yours, Scott. What is it?
Is dontrell-hilliard still the Browns' best option in the return game?
It's fitting that we're talking about this with Josh Cribbs going into the Legends class. And, he was the last really unbelievable dynamic returner the Browns have had. Sometimes I think they should just put the uniform back on him and try it again. How it goes.
I think he's only like 35 or something.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Everybody's playing till they're 42 now.
Dontrell-hilliard handled punts and kick returns last year. He kind of shared a little bit late in the season with Tavierre Thomas, but still he had the most. But then you also have, Donovan Peoples-Jones, who handled punts at Michigan. You also have JoJo Natson, who was signed this offseason primarily as a punt returner because he has 3 career catches. So I don't think the Browns are banking on him making the team as a wide receiver. And then you have guys like Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, who both got options or chances this past season. Beckham's was with disastrous results, ended up fumbling his one return. But those guys are these dynamic players who could maybe excel in that position. The question is, do the Browns want to use them in that position? So is Dontrell-hilliard still the best option? He was top 10 in kickoff return average last year. It was almost 25 yards a return. He was in the 20s, about 7 yards return on punts. JoJo Natson, better punt returner, not as good as a kickoff returner. So again, it's a question that you have coming into this season. We'll have to see if Donovan Peoples-Jones is a legitimate contender at punt return. But just like last year, I'm banking on seeing a lot of guys standing back there catching kicks to try and figure out who the best person is.
On kickoff returns, it seems like Dontrell-hilliard probably is still one of the best candidates. But on punt returns, obviously, you've got Donovan Peoples-Jones, which I actually kind of think that they are looking at him more as a returner in the early going than as a receiver. I could be wrong about that, but I think they kind of, took a flyer on him in the 6th round thinking, here's a returner that could turn into something at receiver. And then, as you mentioned, JoJo Natson, who will be there returning punts. I'm not a huge fan of Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry returning punts. Those guys were injured last year. You don't want to risk one of your best guys like that on a punt return or a kickoff return. So, maybe once or twice late in the season, I don't know. But for the most part, I'm not for that.
Yeah, I don't mind it if it's like one of those take your shot moments, because you don't have a Josh Cribbs or a Travis Benjamin. If it's like, okay, it's late in the game, we're down 4 points, we got to get something out of this return. This is the time we're going to put Odell Beckham Jr. back there. Kind of like what the Steelers did with Antonio Brown towards the end of his time in Pittsburgh. He's not going to be our primary punt returner necessarily, but every now and again, or just, when he wants to, he's going to go out there. And if we need a big return, we're going to take that shot with him. And so Hilliard, kind of interesting at this time last year, was sort of one of the darlings of the offseason program with Duke Johnson wanting to get traded. And some of us were talking to his high school coaches and college coaches and writing features on him. Now his status is very much up in the air. It's sort of how this league changes, I guess. But, that's really what it comes down to. Josh Cribbs was so good in all phases of special teams. And he was fine at receiver. He wasn't going to be your number one receiver, but he could do some things when he was on the field offensively. And that's sort of what you're looking for, I think, now in modern roster building is you want a return guy, but you also want a guy that can maybe, be a gunner or something like that. And can do some other things for you as well as a football team.